Welcome, everybody, to Community Conversation for January 2021, first program of the year. And we are fortunate to have a couple of guests who've been fantastic community partners and stalwart supporters for the entire Athens community. In the second half of the program, we're going to talk to Shane Blackwell from the Northeast Georgia Business Alliance. But joining me now, I am lucky to have my good friend Heather Benham, Executive Director of the Athens Land Trust, with us. Hey, Heather.
Hey, Mayor Gertz. Thanks for having me.
It's good to see you. So for Heather, if people are not aware, can you just briefly outline, in normal circumstances, what the Athens Land Trust does?
Briefly, huh? We have a lot of programs. It's all kind of housed under this mission around conserving, empowering, and sustaining communities. And that happens in lots of ways, through education, through the protection of green space or farmland, the production of affordable housing, youth programs, community gardens, lots of ways that we interact with the community.
Great. So, of course, among the things that we've done in partnership these last many years is housing counseling.
Definitely.
And so funds that the unified government receives through Housing and Urban Development have been used by the Athens Land Trust to help people move toward better housing. And obviously, we know that means something different for everybody.
That's right.
Sometimes it means, somebody's first home that they are owning.
Yep.
Sometimes it simply means somebody's moving off the street into an apartment or into a better place to live. But of course, we're in highly unusual times right now. So, Heather, talk a little bit about how the Athens Land Trust has pivoted in the midst of the pandemic these last 10 months.
Definitely. And in some ways, it's a little bit, it resembles the economic crash of 2007, 2008, where the number of people moving toward home ownership right now in an uncertain time slows down a little bit. And instead, what you find yourself focused on is foreclosure prevention, eviction prevention. So it's stopping some of the negative consequences of the pandemic. And fortunately, through our partnership with local government, we've been able to, and we were able to raise some money, private funds as well, to be more flexible, but funds available to help people stay in their housing. So, housing counseling is a really great and powerful tool around credit, and there's all sorts of things that you can gain from it. But when you don't have income coming in, there's not a lot that can be done to change the circumstance. And so that's why it's so important to have this fund to be able to help people come to some resolution or temporary stopgap to keep their situation stable until things can change for the better. And so that's what we found ourselves doing. And it's not just our housing counselor that's shifting the work. It's a number of staff in the office have shifted to meet that immediate demand, because there are a lot of people in our community that are struggling right now. And so we've served about 300 households with emergency assistance to keep them in their apartment or in their house and keep their utilities on.
Have you found that some of your prior clients who had sort of found themselves in better situations, say in 2018, 2019, suddenly hit the skids and really needed help that they probably hadn't anticipated needing in life?
Not just our client, we've seen some of our former clients, and we have connections to them, so we were checking in. There have been a lot of families that I think never in a million years saw themselves being in a situation like this, not too far from being homeless. And so that's, it's a lot for people to process how quickly the circumstances can change and what it takes, and really finding themselves starting to see for the first time how fragile the network of support is to help families in need. Anyway.
What other things are you recognizing, as these 300 folks have come in? I mean, obviously, if somebody's got, difficulty around residential stability, they probably have lots of other difficulties that are lined up after that.
Yeah, I think on the family side, it's lots of things that you can imagine. it's more on the solution side where this is highlighted, I think, some things that we've known for years. There's a shortage of affordable housing, of quality affordable housing, and of affordable housing in our community. And so the reality is, once you get behind, that follows you and makes it hard for you to find other stable solutions. So, the number of families that are finding themselves staying in extended day motels where they don't check credit and you can pay by the week, it winds up being a solution for some folks. And it's not a great solution because clearly it's more expensive over the long term. You wind up paying more,
and also means you get kicked out at the end of that week.
That's right. And so, but there's just a shortage of easily accessible options for once you've got struggles in your past. Those things tend to follow and stay with people in ways that make it harder for them to access solutions.
Are you imagining that in the couple of years post-pandemic, there's going to have to be some additional layer of support, some additional credit cleanup and other supports for families?
Without a doubt. And not just that, there needs to be advocacy around solutions, I think, that hold less of those things against people, so that we have a path for people to be able to build back or dig back out of some of these things. Yes.
No, that's helpful for me to hear. I mean, I'll share that one of the things I've just done in this last week is correspond with the legislative liaisons for the two new senators from Georgia. And so I'm trying to make sure that we're continually ushering to Washington, D.C. those systemic needs. And so,
thank you.
To understand that, in the same way that we want to see people's misdemeanor marijuana arrests just go away, and not be part of their record, also thinking, how can we keep people's financial challenges of 2020 and 2021 go away? So, when they're on occupationally and financially stable ground, that they don't have this forever black mark that's bringing their credit score down by a couple hundred points. That's
exactly right. And it's good to know that you're talking to DC, because some of these changes have to take place there. Because a lot of it is tied, HUD is who winds up subsidizing and helping create much of the affordable housing in the community. But there are guidelines and restrictions that HUD uses that can also hinder people's ability to access those programs.
Mm-hmm. No, it's interesting when I think about, my background in public education and, the number of things that we would love to have done, on the building level, on the classroom level in public education, but you've got these layers of federal bureaucracy, and those often then get layered with state and then local bureaucracy. So, the clarity, hopefully, that Washington can provide now to create these long-term supports are things that I'm glad we're talking about.
I agree.
So if you had to draw kind of a portrait of, knowing the challenge we're in, knowing it's going to be some time before we've got herd immunity, knowing it's going to be some time before the service sector, where a lot of, modest and low income people are employed, is sort of back in action, ideal case scenario, what would you like to see the rest of 2021 look like from the institutional and governmental level?
Probably going to ask for too much, but I think, one of the things that we saw over the last couple of weeks is as soon as the stimulus funds started rolling out, some of the desperation in the applications backed off. And so some sort of guaranteed income for those until there's a time where the economy can recover and there are jobs. And, hopefully the ideal situation is, rather than these quick Band-Aids that aren't really building toward long-term solutions, we actually are investing in a better economy, a better housing landscape. All these things that we've known need to be solved or fixed or worked on, starting to use these, hopefully there'll be stimulus dollars that we can start to use in really thoughtful and strategic ways, where as a community that depends on us thinking ahead and staying ahead of the game and paying attention to what's coming down, and not not being caught flat-footed and trying to throw money out quickly, but being really strategic about what are these long-term things that we've all identified that need to be addressed, and how do we build something to be positioned to access these funds in a way that's going to solve some of our community needs.
No, I appreciate that. I certainly think about that same theme when it comes to K-12 education, when it comes to public health, when it comes to dealing with unhoused persons.
Yeah.
We know that we've got some very challenging things to deal with right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got to do that work. But if we're exclusively doing that and we're not thinking, okay, what's the 18-month, 5-year, 10-year plan, so that we don't get into such a deep hole again, I think if we're not having that longer term consideration, we're not doing the right work.
I agree.
So Heather, whether somebody is interested in accessing support from the Athens Land Trust, in the very near term, or they're looking to, be a partner in some of your urban agriculture work, some of your invasive remediation and natural areas work, or begin to move toward home ownership, how can they contact the Land Trust or find out more about your programs?
Yeah, definitely. So the website is full of information, just pages and pages, and probably too much. So you can definitely go to the website, which is athenslandtrust.org. And if you're not comfortable getting on the computer, you can call us, and we have somebody answering the phone every day. It's 706-613-0122. And I'll just say, that's one of the things that we made a commitment to, is to have somebody, a live, real person answering the phone, because people are going through challenging times, and to just get recording after recording can be a frustrating thing. And so anyway, if someone needs help getting referrals to other services in town too, we've got somebody who has those skills answering the phone.
That's great. I mean, certainly I've heard from people who are trying to contact the Department of Public Health about vaccination, or people trying to contact the Department of Labor about, whether or not their information has gotten lost in a black hole. The lack of human interaction, has been a challenge. And I know that, for many of us, we've acclimated to this hyper electronic era, but I was talking to a physician actually earlier today who was explaining that, every time that there's some new portal that a member of the public has to try and access, where there's not a real human individual to guide a client or patient through, you're cutting off some portion of the population. So, and
I think, honestly, a fairly significant part of our population. I mean, I know younger people are more and more, but we have plenty of older residents who, we do neighborhood meetings, and it's kind of interesting. But a lot of the residents are on by speakerphone, not through Zoom, not through Google Meets, but they still, it helps people feel connected and sharing information with each other. And phones are fine, and talking to people is good.
It is. Well, it's been good to talk to you. Thanks for all your efforts,
nice to talk
Heather.
To you. And thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for your staff. We're lucky. Be safe out there, okay?
Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye. All right, everybody. Welcome to the second half of Community Conversation. We are blessed to be joined by Michael Hill and Shane Blackwell from the Northeast Georgia Business Alliance. And like the Land Trust, who we spoke with earlier, they have been a stalwart community partner. I've had great conversations with members of the Business Alliance prior to COVID, but particularly now, they've been especially helpful in their work with the unified government. And so I wanted a chance for them to talk about the great efforts they've done in supporting small businesses. So welcome to both of you. So Michael, Shane, pre-COVID, what was life like in the Northeast Georgia Business Alliance? Talk a little bit about your everyday work and the kind of support you provide.
All right. Well, prior to COVID, we have our weekly conference call that we do every Monday. Prior to COVID, it was 8:30 for everybody, and then we would have our monthly event every second Tuesday in the evening time, and we would switch it up quarterly to give everyone opportunity to come to the events, to experience what we was able to offer at different time each month. Each month had a different theme. So that's how it would go. We would just be able to do different things according to the calendar. Normally we would kick it off towards the end of February with small business month or small business week. Then that would go roll over into March, which would be Women History Month. And then we will have a panel of women that's from Athens or, been able to contribute with small businesses, entrepreneurship from Athens. So those are some of the highlights that we did. And, each month, like I said, we will have a theme. April was Financial Literacy Month. So we would have something, maybe we'll have our CPA to talk about Financial Literacy Month or have someone and so forth. So each month was something going on. And then that just rolled on throughout the year. And then COVID hit and changed everything. So one thing that we did, we eventually was able to adapt and we went to Zoom. So meetings, face-to-face meetings ceased and we just started doing Zoom. And then we changed our time set from 8:30 to 12:30. And that's where we've been at since. So right now we're doing mainly Zoom meetings each Monday at 12:30.
And so, of course, all along, you've served as the Minority Business Support Organization for Northeast Georgia, what some communities would call their Black Chamber. And of course, for every business, and particularly minority business owners, those kind of supports, just understanding how to operate a business in normal times or good times, comes with a host of challenges. How to negotiate leases, how to deal with human resources questions, how to save for additional locations or future endeavors. And we know that all of those things have this whole new layer here in this last year. So for both of you, and Michael, I'll start with you. What would have been your observations about challenges for business folks that have been most heavy in falling on minority business owners?
Well, yeah, definitely. Michael Hill, I'm CEO and president of the Marketplace. I actually was honored to actually be one of the project administrators for the grant program from Northeast Georgia Business Alliance, native of Athens, born Magnolia Street right there in the Hospital of St. Mary's. So it was just an honor to be able to be in a position and granted an opportunity for us to really financially help our businesses. And one of the things I always appreciated about you, Mayor, is that you was always committed to workforce development. And this grant, $500,000 that we were able to distribute to businesses that sometimes are unheard, unleft, had economic challenges, structural challenges, and things of that nature. I just wanted to get innovation on the city council, seeing that they wanted to do something different in terms of dispersing those monies out to organizations that typically don't get an opportunity to do that. I'm always the innovation and uniqueness of each you guys experimented with. And as it relates to us, we felt that the experiment it went well. We were able to impact 135 businesses in Athens. Although our focus and emphasis is on helping minority businesses, we did have a diverse group of businesses. I mean, we helped pretty much all businesses in Athens. So we were able to impact them in that way. And we're going to continue on to kind of look at, as a result of getting the dollars, how were they able to create jobs? So one of the things that we did in the grant program, we created 3 different grant sections, which we had a cash flow grant, an impact grant, and a job creation. So one of the things that we're doing with the people who were the job creators, those were the businesses that we allocated resources to that we felt that could create jobs during a pandemic. So we look forward to actually providing additional reporting probably in March. And, we're looking for, and we're currently negotiating with the other stimulus dollars that are supposed to be coming down through the new administration. It was just it was a very rewarding experience, and we saw a lot of businesses impact. And I wanted Shane to kind of tell you some of the testimonials. People cried, people rejoiced. It was a beautiful thing. I know one of the job creator grants, we were able to help her. She's doing testing, Dr. Allen, I believe, in the and she was able to get some refrigeration equipment. And one of the things with Dr. Allen, she's also has a job creations program. We had a food truck fabrication company. He was another one who received the job creators grant, and he's getting ready to go to Athens-Clarke and hire additional students to manufacture food trucks. And the job creator in that was that because so many people lost in restaurants, the natural progression was them to mobilize their operations. And you have a food truck manufacturer based out of Athens who's going to, as a result of getting dollars, be able to create additional jobs. And that's just some of the two that I can think off the top of my head that really were grateful and going to really impact from the grant.
That's wonderful. And we were so glad that these federal dollars were available, that we were able to mobilize through the Federal CARES Act and have the partnership with the Northeast Georgia Business Alliance to ensure this stability of existing businesses and expansion of businesses in a way that's safe and effective right now. And as you mentioned, Michael, absolutely hoping that the new administration is going to follow suit in the next stimulus and seek to support local communities and partner with local government and local nonprofits and entrepreneurs like yourselves so that the money really plant seeds on the ground. For you, Shane, what are some of the notable experiences that those business owners that you've spoken to have had in the midst of this grant operation?
Oh, they were very appreciative, Mayor. A lot of them was overwhelmed with joy. A lot of them said that they took away a lot from the program. They were very appreciative of the city, appreciative of me, Michael, the committee, the oversight committee, for the opportunity. A lot of them were very happy to have received not only the grant, but the education piece. We was able to teach them about their finances, how to manage. We was also able to bring in legal aspect to, the difference between LLC and sole proprietor and so forth like that. So it was a lot. I think we had over like 11 classes, I believe, that we was able to teach them to educate. It's one thing to give someone money and just say, here you go, but to be able to educate them, to strengthen their weakness, and to then push them back out into the business world was a joy for me, and it was a joy for them as well. A lot of people who have been in business for 17, 15, 20, 30 years said that they hadn't seen this, or it was a refresher for them. So I know that the calling that God has given me, it was confirmation for me just to know that someone was happy to receive a check and to say, this is what I needed to help me stay on my feet. A lot of people said that if they hadn't received this money, this grant money, that they was going to close. They didn't know where they was going to get their next money or the next check to be able to pay employees. A lot of them didn't know how they was going to keep their lights on. For some, it was a boost for them to be able to get a new vehicle, to be able to do their transportation business. There's so many testimonies that we want to be able to, like Michael said earlier, be able to present to this Mayor and Commission for you all to actually see the testimonies. We had people crying on my shoulders and stuff. I mean, it was an experience. It was something that we really, truly enjoyed, being able to give back to the community. And we definitely appreciate you, Mayor, for believing in us. I'm sure that, just being real, I'm sure that not everyone probably didn't believe in giving that much money to a Black organization, but you did. And
Well,
thank
give
you.
great credit to you for really positioning yourselves effectively, and certainly to my colleagues on the county commission who I
Yeah,
think
absolutely.
we're well situated, and our staff.
Yeah.
I'll say, what I love about the approach that you've taken is almost like the sort of biblical theme of teaching a person to fish rather than just giving someone a fish.
Yes.
Really combined with the business acumen of, ensuring that you're following up. I love, Michael, that you really kind of talked about, taking a snapshot of these businesses in March, and I'm certain beyond that, to ensure that you've not just created temporary stability, but ongoing stability for these operations. I asked our prior guest, and I'm interested in hearing from both of you too. We certainly know that we have some more challenging months to go through. It's going to take some time to get to vaccine distribution and herd immunity. There probably is going to be this long span of time where, everything from public health to children's education, we'll have some fallout. But if each of you could paint a portrait of what you would like to see happen for the rest of 2021, particularly focused on business support, what would you hope to see? And I'll begin with you, Michael, and then turn to you, Shane.
I think you guys got it right. I mean, the way the program was structured, the areas that you guys segmented out, those are very relevant areas. I think as we see some of the outcome reports, and one of the things I'm big on is the continuing research. So I want to get additional data with you. Do they need another round of funding? Those same businesses, utilization of those funds, how were they used? Because we made it very clear you need this for operating purposes. We see the immediate impacts. I mean, I'm still hearing success stories. And one of the big impacts that we realized, and this was something I stated in the very part of the programs, many of these businesses have been operating in the city for years. And a lot of them did not have a formal relationship with the city. So one of the things that we were able to do was that we were able to put a lot of the stipulations on the back end and say, these are the requirements that you need to have. We're going to help walk you through the process in terms of getting those requirements. And the thing I want to see is the tax increase in the income and the impact that's going to be on the city next year. So I'm excited about that. But moving forward, I think, definitely in terms of the allocation areas are very important. And I think we really emphasize, as a result of getting the monies, and I think this is what, I was a stickler on is this, what impact can we make in terms of those individuals creating jobs? No, we couldn't give everybody large amounts of monies and things of that nature. There's only so much you can do with $1,000. I definitely would like to see the threshold go a little higher, and we were able to do $1,000 grants, $5,000 grants, $10,000 grants in some cases. But with that, I think with the current data that we have, we can really make a best assessment in terms of how to better allocate. I think we were on point in terms of the areas of businesses that we targeted. And we just want to kind of see, were they good stewards as a result of the education and the resources? And if we're in a position, again, how can we help in making sure other businesses are aware? Because I think a lot of businesses, and one of the studies you will see, a lot of people didn't even try to apply for the PPP loans and things of that nature because they just felt that they didn't qualify. And by us having that training component, I think it put a lot of people at ease. So I just want to guys stay with those same segments, use the same organizations. I want to get more organizations involved, but we were just proud to be a part of it.
Great. Well, I appreciate that a lot. I mean, part of our interest was trying to reach out to those who really weren't well situated to apply for PPP or the EDIL loans early on. I'm grandson of a woman who ran a hair salon out of her basement for a couple decades. So I know there are a lot of small businesses out there doing great work, but they're not formalized, they're not professionalized. that they've never spoken to a CPA. So, thank you for bringing a lot of folks sort of into the light, so to speak, because I can only imagine that post-pandemic, that's going to mean those are stronger operations. Shane, for you, what would you hope to see the rest of 2021 if you could paint the picture?
Like Michael said, just continue to do what you all are doing for the community. But one thing I would like to see, maybe for nonprofit, maybe some way that we can get that waiver from the state, that we can be able to provide funds for nonprofit organizations, that they can be able to receive funding as well. They suffered through the pandemic, and I don't think they really got a handout as well. I think they got not by design or anything like that. I think just because they were a nonprofit and it was set up for profit, I think they just got left behind.
And we're definitely challenged by some state contours.
I know.
People probably read about what's called the gratuities clause of the state constitution.
Yes.
And so our local dollars and state dollars are not as flexible as those federal dollars that y'all were able to use to distribute to businesses.
Right.
But yes, we have asked for help from our local delegation of the General Assembly in exactly that way.
Okay. Yeah.
Glad to hear you raise that.
Yes, sir. But definitely, if they can be included for 2021, and we can just build off of our what we've done in 2020. I know that our oversight committee and our new board that we'll be introducing next month got some innovative ideas to bring forward for 2021. So we're looking to roll up our sleeves and come together. And if we get the opportunity to serve our community again in this capacity, we're definitely looking forward to it, because believe it or not, Mayor, we're still receiving people calling every day. Still receiving text messages. I'm receiving text messages now, phone calls today about the grant. So we're telling them just be patient. New administration taking place, so more to roll out further down the year in 2021. But
and I was sharing with Heather from the Land Trust earlier that I've been in conversation with legislative directors for the 2 new Senate offices. So but please, I would say for both of you and for anybody watching and listening, if there are some local needs that probably are reflective of needs all over the state and all over the country, but please be in touch with me. I want to make sure I can help shepherd those to DC to the degree possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Shane Blackwell, Michael Hill, thank you so much for your efforts. For both of you, please stay safe out there.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate you for having us on.
Thank you. We'll talk to both of you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.